Hey guys, I'm here with my Bruce Lee brothers, Roberto Sanchez woo! And Elias Bosch. We just got here in Seattle, Washington. We're gonna pay our respects tomorrow to Bruce and Brandon Lee at the gravesite. Today though, we're meeting up with Bruce Lee historian and collector and fan Perry Lee, and we're gonna be eating here in the Thai Tongue restaurant where Bruce Lee used to eat, right? What do you used to eat here?
The beef and oyster sauce beef.
Beef and oyster sauce.
I think I'm gonna try it.
Yeah, baby. So join us for the next 2 days. We're gonna have a lot of fun, guys. After eating at Bruce Lee's favorite restaurant, Thai Tongue, we all took a photo with the current owner, Harry Chan, whose dad, Kwan Chan, opened the Thai Tongue restaurant and used to serve on Bruce Lee back in the day. Before stopping off at Perry Lee's place for our interview, he decided to surprise us and take us to a warehouse on the way. To our delight, he showed us the prototype statue of Bruce Lee that was used to make the bronze Bruce Lee statue that will be unveiled soon in Seattle, Washington's Chinatown to honor Bruce Lee. Enjoy the exclusive interview with Bruce Lee historian and largest Bruce Lee collector in the world, Perry Lee. Hey guys, Charles Damiano here from the Bruce Lee Collection for another exciting episode, and I'm here today with collector, fan, Bruce Lee historian, Perry Lee.
Thank you, Charles.
You're very welcome.
Finally glad to meet you.
Oh man, I want to start by thanking you for welcoming us into your home. I know we spent the last 2 hours of you showing us your Bruce Lee collection, and if I didn't stop you when I did to say, hey, let's film an episode on you, I think we could have been here another 10 days.
Yeah, you seem to be in a daze after looking at my collection.
Oh my God, I've never seen anything like it. Well, I'm honored to have you on the show because, you know, I've interviewed hundreds of collectors over the years. I have this YouTube channel that focuses on Bruce Lee and Bruce Lee collecting for about 7 years now. But I never had you on the channel, and I have heard of you probably for the last 30 years now, and I was always intimidated to kind of reach out to you, see if you would want to do a YouTube episode with us, and I'm so happy that you invited us in today.
Well, thank you, Charles. I'm glad to finally meet you, and I don't mind doing this episode with you.
Well, thank you. So today, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on Perry's background. I'd like to know, how you started, how you got into Bruce Lee collecting. I know you're one of the few collectors that I've interviewed that actually met Bruce Lee, and I know it was just a short meeting, but you met him twice when you were very young. So take me back, first of all, a little bit about you. So were you born and raised in Washington, in Seattle?
I was born here in 1948. Went to Franklin High School back in 1963. Pretty much I spent my whole life living in Seattle, except going out for vacations. But pretty much just spent most of my time here.
So you know the history of Seattle, right? Because Bruce first settled here, right, when he came here at 19 years old or 18 years old, and he settled at Ruby Chow's, and you probably more than anyone know all the history of that. And I want to start first by, I know since you were one of the few collectors that I know that actually met Bruce Lee, I want to start with how that meeting came about. So how did that take place?
Well, I first laid eyes on Bruce back in 1963. Back then, they had what they call a boys' assembly and a girls' assembly. And the girls would go to the auditorium for a show, and the boys would go to the gymnasium for a show. And at that time, Bruce and Taky Kimura walked in to do a demonstration of Kung Fu.
Wow.
Well, back then, Bruce Lee wasn't famous. Nobody knew who he was. I was actually more excited to see a demonstration of Kung Fu because I didn't know what Kung Fu was.
Right.
Nobody knew what Kung Fu was back in 1960, and we certainly didn't know who Bruce Lee was.
Right. So that's your first introduction. So he put out a flyer and he said there's going to be a Kung Fu demonstration at the high school where you were at, or was it at...
Right. In 1963, he opened up his first school in the University District.
Okay.
And he was advertising for students to come and train with him. And so I went down, met with him, asked him where his school was, and he told me it was in the U District. So I decided to venture out the next day and pay a school a visit. Well, I found out that, at 14 that I had to transfer onto 3 different buses to get to the U District.
Okay.
And by the time I got there, it took me like an hour and a half. I went up, knocked on the door. Bruce came to the door and
Wow.
asked me if I was Chinese, and I said yes. Asked me if I was interested in attending his classes, and I said yes. So I went in and sat and watched him practice, probably for about an hour, and after that I left. And when I finally got home, which took me 3 different buses to get home, I figured that, well, my parents ain't gonna let me spend this much time away to go up there. So that was pretty much the end of it.
So what was it like when, I know he wasn't famous at the time, he was just opened up a school, you didn't really have any idea who Bruce Lee was. He wasn't even doing the Green Hornet yet, right?
Nope.
So you saw him, and what was his stature like? What was his built like? Was he just a little, 19, 20, 21-year-old at the time?
Well, Bruce Lee came in to any kind of demonstration. He would always ask for the toughest guy to come down. And when you're in high school, you always knew who the toughest person was back then. I still remember that person. His name was Carl Woods. And so he came down. People yelled at him to go down there and hey, go ahead. This guy that wants to mess with you, Carl. So he went down there, put up his fist, and Bruce says, throw a punch. Well, Carl was kind of reluctant to throw a punch at him. Bruce was only 5'6". And the most amazing thing about Bruce is that everything he did was spontaneous. Whenever he did his demonstration, it was spontaneous. He literally just asked whoever was the toughest person to come down to throw punches at him.
Wow.
Back then nobody demonstrated that way.
Right.
Usually demonstrations in martial arts, usually it's the student with the teacher and everything's prearranged.
Right.
But not Bruce. He had so much confidence that he knew that he can block and throw a punch back at just about anybody and not get hurt.
Wow.
And the most amazing thing, of course, with Bruce was his amazing speed.
Yeah.
When Carl made a move, Bruce was right in there. He was able to block, intercept everything he threw.
Wow. Wow, man. So you remember that. And then did you meet him twice, or was it just one interaction where you met him?
Well, I met him a couple more times. I saw him demonstrate down in Chinatown. And then when he came back from doing the Green Hornet, he showed up at one of Taky's schools in the basement down in Chinatown, giving a lecture on Kung Fu. And I was invited to go down there, and I heard him,
Wow. So was his name really getting around town in Seattle at that time? Did you start hearing back then? Mm-hmm. And was he around when he did the Green Hornet? Was he even more popular then? Like, how'd that take place?
Well, everybody knew Bruce Lee after he was on the Green Hornet.
Okay.
Before then, nobody knew who he was.
Got ya.
He left Seattle back in 1964. He married Linda August 1964, and he kind of disappeared for 2 years. Nobody knew, what happened to him.
Right.
And I didn't know what happened to him until I saw him on the first episode of the Green Hornet, which I think premiered in September of 1966.
Right.
And that's when I reconnected with Bruce.
Ah, I got you. So the Green Hornet, like for most of us, is what really reconnected you and started you out.
Exactly.
With the excitement of Bruce. Is that when you actually started collecting? Because there's a lot of collectors that are around my age in their 60s now, but you seem like you started collecting in the 60s, where we started mostly in the 70s. So you've been collecting Bruce Lee memorabilia from the Green Hornet days?
Right. The first item that I saw after I saw Bruce Lee on the Green Hornet was gum cards. That was really the only thing available back then.
Yeah.
So I picked up a few gum cards with his image on it, and there wasn't anything really, on Bruce.
Yes.
Until the 1967 Black Belt magazine came out with his image on it, and surprisingly, the title of that magazine was "Does He Really Practice Kung Fu?"
Kung Fu. Yeah.
Of course, we all knew he did practice Kung Fu.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. So you was that one of the first magazines that you picked up back then, the Black Belt 67?
I think that was the only magazine.
The only magazine.
That was the only magazine that was available.
Yeah.
But then I did buy every martial arts magazine looking for articles on Bruce.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, when you walked us through your house a little while ago, and I came down with Elias Bosch and Roberto Sanchez, I was just blown away at the amount of items you have here in this basement. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that, because what I've seen here for the first time, in 7 years, I've never seen 90% of what you showed us, and I've seen thousands of items over the last 7 years of collections from different collectors around the world, and nothing comes close to what you showed us here. So, and you told me you started selling off some of your items, right, recently?
Yeah, it's gotten to that point where, I'm approaching, believe it or not, almost 80 years, and...
Well, you look great. Fantastic.
Yeah. And, my two sons don't want the collection. It's time for somebody else to enjoy it. I still have probably 90% of my collection, but I have started selling a lot of my... a few of my personal items off.
Well, so like most of us, we were all captivated by Bruce for some specific reason. I mean, you met him in person, and then you saw him in the Green Hornet. What was the day where you said, oh my God, this guy, he's kind of inspired me to get you to where you wanted to have to pick up everything on Bruce Lee? I mean, we were all kind of mesmerized by him at one point. What was it for you? Like, when did that happen to you where you said, this is becoming like almost like an obsession where you have to get item after item after item? What was that turning point for you like?
Probably when I was in high school. For me, Bruce Lee was the first positive image of an Asian American.
Absolutely.
There was nobody like him that came along. The only image I had of Asian Americans back then was Hop Sing on Bonanza. That was it. There's always that negative image of Asians.
Yeah.
And here you had Bruce Lee come along. This is the first time you saw an Asian American, on TV fighting the bad guys. And beating them up.
Yep. And that really kind of did it for you.
That's what did it for me.
Yeah, and then so then when he hit the big screen in the early 70s, I mean, what was one of your favorite movies?
Oh, it's probably Enter the Dragon.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's everybody's favorite.
Yeah.
The other movies weren't really made for an American audience, but because of the popularity of Enter the Dragon, they went back and put up all those, some of what I considered some of the cheesy Chinese movies back then.
Yeah.
And then, and even some of the movies that Bruce Lee made, he didn't really want an American audience to see those movies.
Yeah. So Enter the Dragon really did it for everyone. Yeah. So going back as to how did you get into collecting Green Hornet items? Because, I recently started collecting Green Hornet items, and I maybe have, 30 licensed items, and you were telling me that you... how many licensed items did you say came out?
I think there's about 165.
So 165, and you only made 26 episodes.
Yeah.
And of the 165, how many would you say you have? I mean, we're sitting in your Green Hornet room here, and you have a bunch of items on the table behind us. How many would you say you have of the 165?
I think I have about 120.
About 120?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I collected Green Hornet because that was my first direct connection with Bruce. That's when I was watching the Green Hornet every Friday night, and after that, that was truly my first connection. With Bruce. Yeah.
Got you. So that's why you zoned in a lot on the Green Hornet items. Yeah, I just love the Green Hornet items as well. And not only are your Green Hornet items so rare, but you have like complete sets. It's so hard to find them with all the pieces still in them, because kids played with this back in the 60s, and they were coloring books, and we have color foam kits here, and you have them with all the pieces intact. I mean, how long did it take you to put this together?
Well, I've been collecting Green Hornet items for practically 60 years.
Wow.
The Green Hornet represent the rarest of all the toys that came out in the 1960s. All these toys were licensed by Greenway's Production, 20th Century Fox, and they really do represent the rarest toys from those TV series that came out.
Right. Yeah, and you have a lot of yours that are in also very mint condition, which is kind of crazy, which makes the value even more money.
Yeah, the beauty of some of these toys is that, they all have images of Bruce. These are the earliest images of Bruce. This is how Bruce was marketed back in 1960. And a lot of people don't know, but Bruce and Van Williams never got paid for the use of their image. Actors in Hollywood never got money for the use of their image until Star Wars came out. It was back then. It's only back then that studios started paying them for the use of their
image.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Bruce never got compensated all the images they put on these toys.
Yeah, so he got no residuals from any of these toys.
Residuals,
nothing.
Nothing.
All he got is a couple $100 a week they were paying him per episode back then. He was the lowest paid actor I heard
He was
on
the
that.
lowest paid actor.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Man.
And in the beginning, a lot of people don't know that, but in the beginning, a lot of these toys just had the image of Green Hornet. Yeah, they didn't put the image of Kato up next to him. When you look at these toys, if the earliest toys never had images of it, then he'd become popular, and then they started making him more of an equal.
Right.
And then he became more popular than Van Williams, and they put toys with just his image on it, like the hand puppet.
Yeah, yeah.
And like some of the candy boxes with just his image on it.
Wow. Now you have an item, I don't see it here, but tell us the story of that box that you showed me, and I'll show pictures of it, that Bruce and Van Williams is on. How did you obtain that? Because that's a pretty rare piece.
Box is that?
Cereal
the
box?
Wheaties box.
The Wheaties box,
Well,
yeah.
the Wheaties box. Well, what happened was that Wheaties asked people to send in pictures of their kids to put on the box, and somebody sent in a picture of Bruce and Van Williams, Green Hornet and Kato, and that was in violation of Green Wave's production, 20th Century Fox, the use of their image.
Right.
And they told him, you can't do that. And somehow that box was able to leave the factory and got in the hands of a private collector, and I was able to acquire that box. So that's an actual Wheaties box that I have.
Wow, and there's only one that you know of that was ever...
that's the only one. That's the only real Wheaties box that are out there. There's a lot of fan-produced Wheaties boxes.
Which I've seen.
Yeah.
But that's the original prototype that they went with at the time, and you have that in your collection now.
Right.
Wow, amazing. So I've seen a lot of collectors, like I said earlier, and everyone focuses on different things. When I started, I was a big magazine collector, paper collector, movie posters, press books, press kit, lobby cards. Everyone seems to do different things. Some people, focus on statues and figures. And so, what would you say your focus is on in
Probably
collecting?
more items that have a personal connection. Actually, I collected everything. It's just that I got to that point where I transitioned to collecting more of the personal stuff, because there's just so much stuff on Bruce. There's just way too much, and it is nice to see different collectors concentrate on a particular area of collecting. There's certain collectors that collect just action figures.
Yep.
Some collectors are just into collecting magazines.
Right.
Some collectors that are just into collecting Bruce Lee photos. Some collectors that collect just albums, soundtracks on Bruce. And that's the beauty of a collecting, is to see other people have a mass collection of just that one genre.
Right. Now, when you say, in case people don't understand, when you say you like to collect items, first of all, personal items, you mean of Bruce Lee, or that has, and then you said you also like to collect things that have a personal connection to Bruce Lee. What do you mean by that?
Anything that kind of ties into Bruce personally. Like I collect a lot of the Ruby Chow memorabilia, because he worked at Ruby Chow, and because Ruby Chow had a profound influence on Bruce.
Right.
A lot of her stationaries that she created, Bruce Lee copied those things to promote himself and his business.
Yeah, you showed me some menus of Ruby Chow's, and the logos and stuff look exactly like the logos Bruce put on his personal business cards and receipts and envelopes that he borrowed from Ruby Chow, right?
And business cards, letterheads, stamps.
Yep.
All that he copied from Ruby.
Yeah.
Ruby was way ahead of her time. She was one of the first female Chinese operators to own a restaurant, and she operated that restaurant outside of Chinatown, and she appealed mostly to the celebrities and politicians, and she found a way of getting them to come to the restaurant by putting out beautiful design business cards, stationaries, matchbooks.
Wow. So she had a big influence on Bruce later on. Yeah, people don't realize that connection. When you see all his beautiful business cards later on, the membership cards, all that was inspired by working at Ruby Chow's, which was here in Seattle, right?
Yeah. That's where Bruce got his inspiration from. A lot of people look at some of the stuff Bruce Lee created and then wonder, where he got that? Where did he come up with that idea? Well, he came up with the idea from working at Ruby Chow and seeing the stuff that Ruby Chow produced.
Wow. Now you also have a unbelievable. I mean, I was floored when I saw photos of the business cards that you have on Bruce Lee. I didn't even know that there was that many that he made different business cards, because they're beautiful. You know, with the logo on them, and you know his signature, and you know he just made them look so beautiful. How many in total were there?
I have the complete set of 18 business cards.
All 18.
All 18 of them. I kind of wonder why Bruce Lee made so many variations. But for some reason, he enjoyed creating all these different designs and business cards to promote his school and promote himself.
Wow. Now you have a lot of these things that over the years you've displayed in museums, right? Because you don't even, some of them are not even at your home anymore.
No.
Right?
No.
So what are some of the museums that you have your things displayed in now?
Hong Kong Heritage Museum, San Francisco Museum, and of course the Wing Luke Museum.
Here in Seattle. Wow. And so that's where a lot of your hand-selected items and your rare items and personal items are housed. So if people wanted to see a portion of the Perry Lee collection, yours are being preserved now at these beautiful museums around the world.
Right. Curators come and they decide what they want to put in the museums. And I go over with them and ask them, what do you want? And they decide what they want. That's why I still have a lot of stuff here.
Yeah.
They don't take everything. They just cherry pick what they think is visually that's attractive to people that might come to the museum to look at.
And how long do they stay in these museums? I mean,
Usually about 5 years.
Well, that long?
Yeah, usually about 5 years.
So you part with your items for 5 years before you get to see them personally again.
And the minute they give it back to me, then some other museum wants to
borrow them.
Yeah.
Wow. So what are some of the other items you have in, let's say, in the Wing Luck Museum? I was there last year, and what did they focus on that museum?
Well, they rotated a lot of my stuff through there.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes you might go into the museum, there isn't that much stuff, only because they rotate it out.
Stay tuned for the Part 2 interview with Bruce Lee historian and collector Perry Lee, as we discuss and show more of Perry Lee's incredible and amazing Bruce Lee collection, how he met Bruce Lee's family members, including Linda and Shannon Lee, as well as all Bruce Lee's first-generation students, and much, much more coming soon.